Want to welcome some special guests on our Tools of Health Tuesday. We've got Dr. Mike DeBorg here and Deborah, who is going to speak with us today. And we're excited to share that with them. So today, we've got a very special presentation and on health, the growth hormone and how that helps with aging. So I know that some of you guys have heard about growth hormone and some of you guys may not. We've got our special Tools of Health today on that, but we also have a great anti-aging wellness event tonight in Ogden. And Deborah will be speaking for a few minutes there too, along with a few other wellness professionals. And that's at the Far West Rec Center in Ogden, and then tomorrow at True Health. So if you have any friends, anybody in that area, go ahead and have them join us there. We are super excited for that. I just wanted to introduce Dr. Mike DeBorg. He is one of my good mentors and friend, CEO of B3 Sciences. He's a former certified sports chiropractor and 4 years of use and research and experience in using and applying BFR training, and has studied over 300 papers. So he's a real guru on growth hormone. And I just wanted to ask him a few questions today as we studied the growth hormone. Also, we have Deborah on board. I'm going to introduce you in just a few minutes, Deborah. So if you, won't mind telling us a little bit about yourself. First of all, though, let's talk about what is growth hormone, because I remember when I was first introduced to this, I was not very familiar with growth hormone. And so it's been a learning process for me, but I have learned a lot and been able to take advantage of the fact that getting more growth hormone into my life, and I feel amazing. But growth hormone actually fuels childhood growth and helps maintain tissues and organs throughout your life. So you have a lot when you're a kid, and it's produced by this pea-sized gland, the pituitary gland, which is located in the base of your brain. So you can kind of see right here, that little pituitary gland that it's released from. And little age, as we start to age, then we release less and less of that. So it reduces the amount of growth hormone that we produce. But there's so many huge benefits of growth hormone. And so I just wanted to throw this chart in here to get kind of an overview of some of the great benefits that we have for the human growth hormone. One of them is brain function, which I definitely need on a daily basis. And as we get older, we start to have some different things that go on with our brain, such as memory, cognitive function, the ability to just do our daily activities, alertness, motivation, work capacity, prevention of Alzheimer's disease and other mental issues that we get as we go older, and concentration. So that's a big one for me. And also in our family, because in our family, we, on both sides, my husband and I, we have Alzheimer's in our family. So that was a good motivator. The heart, we're going to talk a lot about today, as far as how growth hormone helps that heart in different aspects of the cardiac function, stroke, heart attacks, irregular heartbeats, and shortness of breath. So those are some health benefits there. Body fat, absolutely. I don't know anybody out there that, well, maybe my son, that hopefully he's on there, but that may be interested in losing some of that body fat. Also, bone density. This is another one that's an issue in my family with osteoporosis, so that helps significantly in reducing the osteoporosis. Sexual function, always love that, as it improves our, in women and men, increased desire and ability for that. And then, of course, a big one right now, the immune function, and that's the stimulation of our immune system, producing those killer T cells, and to be able to fight some of the bugs that we've got, especially the tough ones with COVID going on right now. And one that I'm going to have Deborah talk a little bit too, skin and hair, because she's a pro at this. Things that how growth hormone can help with our skin and, getting rid of some of these wrinkles and stuff like that. And so in that note, I wanted to put this picture up. This is actually sitting on my husband's desk that my daughter's made for him as far as his favorite girls. And I just put this up because, not that I, only do I have just great kids, But a lot of people ask me a question, and I don't know if you can guess what that is, but a lot of them will ask me, are you guys sisters? And I love that. It's such a compliment. I really do love that they ask me that. But I was thinking about that the other day of why we look similar. And it's not, maybe it's the hair. When I put on the ball cap, I can really mask some of my wrinkles and things like that. But I honestly believe it's the fact that I have developed the ability to have more growth hormone and some of that anti-aging. So if you want somebody to ask you if you're a sister or something, this is a great plan for you. So on that note, I'm going to bring on Deborah. Deborah, she is I met her at a wellness retreat. And so we've had a lot of fun getting to know each other. She's a master esthetician for over 35 years, board certified traditional naturopath. The other thing I was asking you the other day, walking the path of the red road to become a medicine woman, it's just fascinating to me because I'm from North Dakota, a lot of Indians there. And I have a lot of respect for them. They have a lot of different aspects that they do, very naturopathic. And you also do biofeedback, therapeutic nutrition, and herbal therapy, and do a program called Great Transformation for the Soul. But most important, right? 48 years, 3 kids, and 12 amazing grandkids. So I'm going to, if everybody else wants to mute themselves, as Deborah, can you share a little bit about let's talk a little bit about skin health as a master esthetician. Share a little bit about how growth hormone plays a role in that.
Sure. Well, the skin is the largest organ of the body, and it's an indicator organ. And so as my clients would come in to see me for skin treatments, it was also important for me to teach them about taking care of the skin from within. And years ago, I read Suzanne Summers' book on, I can't remember which one it was. She's written several, but she makes the point that hormones are the juice of youth, and that aging is inevitable, but rotting is optional. And so the major hormone that affects all your other hormones is human growth hormone. And so when you mentioned that the bands help with human growth hormone, boy, I was all on that.
Yes. And what have you seen in your practice as encouraging people to have that growth hormone?
Well, as a naturopath, I have discovered that the best way is to get the body to do it on its own versus taking things that make your body do it or putting creams on. You can spend a lot of money on supplements and on skin treatments, and it's all artificial. It's helping, but it doesn't make your body do it on its own. And that's what's so important to me, is getting the body to create its own hormones, and especially with human growth hormone, because taking it artificially, you can have side effects, and it's very, very expensive. And so if you want to stay, what's that?
I was going to say, so that is a huge incentive to help your body produce its own, correct?
Yes. Yes.
I was talking to a guy who was looking at getting growth hormone shots, and he said it was right around $3,000 a month. And I thought, I could save him a lot of money.
I I haven't looked into that for several years, but when I first started researching it about 14 years ago, it was like $600 a month for those shots.
Yeah, yeah, I guess it'd be
Oh.
really expensive. And Dr. Mike, we have, if you don't mind me bringing you on, we've talked a little bit about the, in some of our classes, growth hormone and how you can get it in other ways, like the creams and the shots and like some of those. Tell us a little bit about some of the side effects that can happen with artificial versus natural growth hormone.
Well, thanks, Janine. Great to be here. Whenever you do something artificially to the body that tries to mimic something that naturally happens, you suppress the natural way. You hear about bodybuilders taking steroids and testosterone, and that suppressing their natural testosterone. The same thing here happens with growth hormone. If you're going to take synthetic growth hormone, you're going to suppress your body's pituitary gland, and that is going to create a big problem if you want to ever come off the synthetic growth hormone. You may never get your natural production started back up. So I always tell people, if you're going to go down that path of synthetic growth hormone, you better have a big pocketbook, and you better be prepared to do it for a long time, because you're not going to like what happens when you come off the synthetic stuff. You're not going to have any growth hormone circulating around. You're going to have a tough time getting it released. And obviously you've got the dangerous side effects that go with it. So look, anytime we can naturally do something to help the body versus synthetically, it just makes sense. And, you know, with this new technology now, everybody's got an opportunity to get big growth hormone surges like they did when they were a teenager.
So you can see on this chart, as we've got this chart here, at what age it starts to decline, right? Usually right around our 20s and 30s. Is that correct? Our growth hormone starts to decline?
Well, in your mid-20s, it's about half of what it was when you were an early teenager. Your mid-30s, you're down to about a third, or 33%. You know, and that's kind of the joke I say. You get into your mid-30s, 35 to 40, and you don't even have to eat the pizza. You can just look at it, and the scale's going to move. You know, that's kind of, but that's what happens. Metabolism slows down, aging sets in, and your body starts changing physically. And you really can't stop that unless you know how to tap into natural growth hormone. You're going to have a tough time changing that course.
So myself personally, I'm nearing 50. So obviously my growth hormones had dropped before. Currently, I feel like it's doing great. Deborah, I don't know if you want to share how old you are. Putting you on the spot here because you look fantastic. And I always, when I look at you, I'm like, I wish my skin looked this good.
Oh, well, thank you very much. So I'm 66, and you know, years ago, about 15 years ago, I actually thought that I had MS, and I had gone from doctor to doctor to doctor trying to figure this out. Finally found one in Mexico who told me, he said, you've inherited a weakened central nervous system, and you're not getting the oxygen to the brain that you need. And so for the rest of your life, you're going to have to do aerobic exercise. So that's kind of what put me on the path of, then I discovered about the high intensity workouts with the nitric oxide, which is what gets oxygen throughout your body, and the human growth hormone. And I read that book. Yep, that book right there.
There we go.
And
yep.
For about 2 months, I tried to do that, and it was just too much. I just couldn't keep it up. And so I thought, well, I guess I'm just going to have to, I'll just keep exercising, but I'm not going to push it. And I'll just have to not get the human growth hormone because I just couldn't keep it up. And so I was so excited when I met you and you talked about the bands and the 20 minutes a day, and it wasn't going to be hard on my body. And yeah, So I'm
Okay,
so
good.
excited
Both
about
hormones,
this.
great. And I love in this book I've been reading, so if anybody has not got the Younger Next Year, listen to it on Audibles. It really is a great book. But I love how he says, and as a fitness, we have a fitness center. So I am a great proponent of exercise and exercising every day, but a lot of people don't love to exercise, and they'll ask me the same thing, you know, how many days a week should I exercise? And I love Dr. Mike, when people ask you that and you said only on the days that you want to feel good. And that was like, well, for me, that's every day, right? So, and when I was reading this book and they asked him the same question, how many days a week do you exercise? When they asked the doctor, Harry is what it goes by, Harry at Lodge. And he said, you know, there's 6 days a week that you absolutely should, preferably 7 days, and not 3, you twit, is how he put it. And I just had to laugh because I don't know if I could get away with saying not 3, you twit, but I do have to agree with him that it does need to be 6 or 7 days a week. And so let's talk a little bit about the problems with trying to get that high intensity exercise, because high intensity exercise promotes that growth hormone release from that pituitary, but it's difficult. And so Dr. Mike, I know that you've had some issues with yourself in the past. Tell me some of the challenges that you've had with exercise, even being a specialist in that area.
Yeah, well, thanks, Janine. Everybody falls in one of these categories. All of us would do an hour of exercise if it felt good, if it didn't hurt, if it was easy and we got results. We'd all do it. Unfortunately, 99% of the population can't. I fall in that pain category. I've had a knee replaced. I've had 2 hip replaced. I've got bad shoulders. So probably about 4 years ago, I pushed my body to the end, and I'd probably exhausted my daily limit of ibuprofen in my body to reduce the swelling. I didn't want to eat a hole through my stomach with ibuprofen. So fortunately for me, the bands came at the right time. But it's real simple. Sometimes we look at exercise and we think it's complicated. I was on with a wonderful lady today. She's 75 years old. Her name's Carol. And I said, Carol, this is real simple. If you're exercising and you're not feeling the burn, that's moving. That's movement. That's not exercise. Exercise is when you feel the burn and you kind of hang out there for 5 to 10 minutes. You go for a run, you do a HIIT class, you go to one of these wonderful gyms that Janine has. But when you feel the burn, it's like crossing through the Holy Grail. You get all these magical substances. But if you're not getting into the burn, you're not getting any of it. It's like an on or off button. You don't get part. You either get all this wonderful stuff or you don't get any. And 99% of the population is not getting any because they're not willing to put in the time or do the high intensity that's required, or they've got pain. I kid the pickleball players who get mad at me. I tell them, pickleball is not high intensity exercise, and well, you've never played pickleball. They get mad at me, and I say, I understand. Yoga is not high intensity unless you're really one of these people that does these very hard poses, and because you don't feel the burn. So the easiest way to know if you're tapping into what God's given us, growth hormone, is, did you feel the burn? At least for 4 minutes, maybe if you're doing continuous exercise. So it's real easy. Do something continuously for 4 or 5 minutes where you stay in the burn and you keep it, or do something for at least 10 to 15 minutes where you feel the burn and then you rest and then you feel the burn, maybe like doing sets of resistance exercises. And it's really that simple. If you're in the burn, there's all kinds of wonderful stuff that are going to follow. The question is, can you tolerate it? Do you have the time? Well, with this new technology now, we've eliminated all the barriers people have to be able to get that burn and get these wonderful results.
So Dr. Mike, this new technology, let's talk about this new way to exercise. And I had to put some of my fun pictures on there because you can see my mom and dad on there. Yes. And they've had school challenges, it's been hard for them. We've got Tammy that's there. She's an athlete that's been training for different things and had some challenges in her training. Same thing with my sister with fibromyalgia, and your mom that's out there on the bike. So this new way for them to be able to exercise and to train and allow them to get that growth hormone surge with the bands. Can you explain a little bit how that works? I know we're gonna kind
You
of
bet.
why it works right there.
You bet. So, I use the analogy that everybody understands. Forrest Gump went for a run and he just kept running, didn't he? He ran and he ran and he ran. Why? Why was he able to keep running and really never fatigue out? And by the way, Forrest never was able to tap into growth hormone. Why? Because the flow of oxygen coming in from the fresh blood was never exceeded by what he was doing. I mean, he never fatigued his muscle enough to run the oxygen out. Let's use a very simple example. Your muscles have a flow rate of 10 of oxygen flowing in. When you put the bands on, it's a gentle squeeze. You can see it on my arm here. It simply slows down oxygen. And when you explain this to people, explain it that way. We're slowing down oxygen so that when you do light exercise, walking, exercise by chores, swimming, light dumbbells, light weights, some of our programs. Now this exercise that only uses oxygen at a rate of 5, the difference is oxygen's only flowing in at a rate of 3 or 4, not at 10, which means the exercise you're doing, which would normally never cause you to fatigue, it's too light, is enough exercise to use the amount of oxygen that's up. You're using oxygen at a 5 and it's only flowing in at a 4, you're going to run out of oxygen real quick. If we would have put the bands on Forrest when he went for a run, he would have ran about 15 minutes and he'd turned around and gone home because he wouldn't have gone anymore. So that's what's so profound about this. Now anybody, kids, seniors, athletes, high school, couch potatoes, people overweight, people who don't like to exercise, simply put the bands on, do something you like to do. You'll feel the burn very quickly, and then you'll fatigue in an oxygen deficit at a level that stimulates growth hormone. But here's what's profound. You're doing something light that doesn't cause inflammation in your body. You don't hurt. You're doing something light that doesn't micro tear muscle. You're not going to be sore the next day, but you're going to get growth hormone like you just did a super hard workout for 45 minutes to 60 minutes. So this is absolutely profound. You can call it a biohack. You can call it an exercise breakthrough. But we simply figured out a way to do light exercise and get results like you're training in super high intensity exercise. And all the studies say that it absolutely turns on growth hormone in your body. And the results, well, they speak for themselves.
Absolutely. And that's one of the best ways. In fact, I've been doing a lot of just research on growth hormone, and it always says one of the best ways to get growth hormone is that high intensity type exercise. And this is showing that you can get that high intensity, just like you were saying, by lowering that oxygen level in the muscle. So going again to, and here I love this one showing how it's a 25 times greater release of growth hormone than exercise without BFR training. So like you said, once you tried BFR training with the bands, it's hard to go back. You're saying, what is it, Dr. Mike? Once you go bands, you never go back, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you'd have to really like to punish yourself if you want to go back to the old harder way with less results.
Yeah, it's tough on the body. I've been training for almost, probably 30 years, and it gets really hard on the body. I did a lot of running. My knees were getting shot, things like that. And so now with the growth hormone, my body doesn't have those aches and pains, and it feels great. And so just briefly, as we kind of go through some of those benefits again, as you get older, your body loses that lean muscle mass called sarcopenia. And it starts about the age of 35. I read another study actually that went to like 20 because of our sedentary lifestyle. People that sit a lot start losing at a younger age, but 1 to 2% per year, and increases 3% at age 60. And this actually can affect their activities of daily living and end up more into the nursing homes, things like that, because they lose their activities of daily living. Also increased risk for heart disease and diabetes and osteoporosis. So this is another huge reason why with aging that we definitely want that growth hormone, and in a more gentle way as we start to get older. And like you always said, it's so safe. I love that it's been tested 12,000 people they've surveyed and tested, and BFR was safe for all of them. If they can exercise, then it was safe to go ahead and use BFR training in there. And we're going to skip a little bit of this process as we just kind of go through some of the benefits, but I wanted to hit this benefit right here, Dr. Mike, the immune system benefit, because we're having this pandemic going on right now. And I feel like people are trying to, are focusing on the wrong things. You know, they're focusing on getting into isolation, sheltering yourself, you know, and people are not exercising as much. They're eating more. And so their immune systems are dropping, which puts them at a higher risk, or they're gaining weight, which puts them at a higher risk. So exercise with the BFR bands, can you share us a little bit about how this bumps up our immune system? So there, Dr. Mike?
So the first thing to
Okay.
think about is we've got all these athletes that are back to sports, high school, college, pro, and thousands of them have tested positive, and we've got all these games being canceled, but I've yet to find a hospitalization of an athlete. Why is that? Because athletes who do vigorous exercise that creates the burn have a much stronger immune system. This isn't a Dr. Mike thing. This isn't a BFR thing. This is a Harvard thing. We know this because your body produces natural killer cells. What are those? Those are the killer cells that are sitting in your body. Then when you're exposed to a virus or a bacteria, they go out and kill it. They win the war. When your immune system is not as strong, you're more susceptible to be affected by these viruses and bacteria. And you know, I'm not going to give a whole lot of opinions here other than as a society and you know, the smart people have kind of lost track of the fact that you can't avoid being exposed to this stuff. You may not be exposed to COVID, but you're going to be exposed to other viruses every day, the flu, you know, the common cold. You're always exposed to this stuff your whole life. And we all know, we all inherently know, look, if I lead a healthy lifestyle, I'm not going to get as sick. And this is where BFR comes in. BFR allows you to create that burn and get that boost to your growth, your hormone, and that strong boost to your immune system. And there's studies on it that prove it. So, you know, not to focus on one specific virus because it's a sensitive subject, but it's a fact and it's been proven in tests. If you can do vigorous exercise or 10 to 15 minutes a day of BFR, you are going to have a much stronger immune system. And that's just a fact, and science has proved it. So the only thing I wish our society would have done, and I kind of stay out of the politics, is they would present both sides. They'd come on and somebody smart would say, you know, look, get out, get some fresh air, get some vigorous exercise, get some zinc, get some of these things we know are natural. Obviously, do all the other smart stuff, but, you know, our society's kind of missing the point here on one of the things that could really help a lot of people, and that's vigorous exercise.
Absolutely. And I think our focus should be a little bit more on health and fighting this instead of so much on the disease. And so just briefly, you know, we talked a little bit about how it increases the bone density and how important that is. And we're going to have a lot more in depth at some of our anti-aging functions on how this all works. But the cardiovascular benefits of this has been huge. Walking with BFR creates that strong cardiovascular system. So it's just putting them on, going for a walk. That's so simple and that most people can do. Not everybody, but this is another one. I fertilizer for your brain. I love how you put that. And there's my cute parents right there. And like I said, Alzheimer's in our family. So this is a huge motivator for me and for them too, to have that increased cerebral flow or blood flow to the brain. And also diabetes, you know, my dad has diabetes. We've got diabetes in our family. That's another good incentive for me for prevention. So if you know anybody with diabetes, they've got some really good studies on how that helps with diabetics. So I do feel like it is one of the best ways, as you said, exercise, but not only just exercise, the high intensity exercise with, I'm going to skip some of these, with BFR training. And I just have to show a couple slides here at the end that you can do it just about anywhere. We've got some of our gang here, Sandra, with her grandchild, for example, just doing a plank, and the example that she's setting for her kids. And that's something that we can share as a legacy, as health and fitness and being able to enjoy life. Maybe not, you know, of course, we're maybe living longer, but a better quality of life. And I hope as you guys move forward and you look at what type of life that you want to live, that you consider adding more growth hormones so that you can enjoy the life that you have. And I just want to thank Dr. Mike and Deborah for joining us today, not really tonight, but join us tonight at our anti-aging event that we're having in Ogden area, far west. And if you want any details, you can just go to our website, gothealth.us or girlfamilyfitness.com, and there's all kinds of details. So I hope you have a happy, healthy day. Thank you so much for joining us, and join us next week for another Tools of Health Tuesday at noon.